Myers here with my buddies,
Thomas McClellan.
Ian Taylor.
and tonight we're going to be talking about the 1968 classic film from George A. Romero, Night of the Living Dead. Now look, everybody, the movie is, we all know what the plot's all about. Basically, the brother and sister go to the graveyard to pay respects to their dead father, then zombies came about.
Okay, so what you could start stating.
The opening graveyard scene.
Oh yeah.
I thought that car was kind of like just going forever on us. Yeah. Like, dear Lord, man.
Yeah, it takes like 10 minutes to actually get to the graveyard scene and the quote and the initial zombie attack that everybody talks about. And then that scene lasts for 5 minutes, and then it just transfers to another house. And it really feels like one of those movies that's only remembered for one scene. And as I was watching that, I'm just like, that's not a good sign, is it?
Not really. A scene can
They're
either...
coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it, Johnny. You're scaring me.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Hurry before I turn into Bill Moseley any second now.
Wait, was that Bill Moseley?
You know, and that was in the 90s one.
Oh.
The Savini one.
The film was shot with a crap budget. Let's get that out of
It's
the
a
way.
low budget, like $10K or something?
Something like 10 grand.
But it made like $30 million worldwide.
It's made a ridiculous amount of money, especially back then. 10,000 seemed like a lot more money. But even then, still
Yes,
not
but
enough.
the fact how the opening scene just sets up the atmosphere and the tension.
Well, I think originally also they wanted the film to be color, but because they didn't have much money, they had to shot with the very same stuff that you see on TV crews back in the 60s.
Which is black and white.
That's why, the same thing with Psycho, it was black and white because they couldn't afford it, so they had to use more like a TV kind of crew
Really?
on
I
that.
thought that was just a stylistic choice.
It was a bit of a stylistic choice, but it was more of also a practical choice as well.
And about the female character in the movie, I think you and I were talking that...
She didn't do much.
How do we...
She did fuck all.
That's unfortunately the best way to put it. She very much feels like an audience character. You know, she shows up to the house, she doesn't know anything that's going on or any of the other people. So she's literally just there to have the characters explain the plot to her and explain what's going on and explain the setting. But the problem is, unlike other, actually good audience characters like Frodo from Lord of the Rings or Harry from Harry Potter,
They actually do something, right?
yeah, she has nothing to offer to the story, no character development of her own. She's literally just there to have the plot explained to her. FYI, guys, if you want to get into making movies, that's not how you do a horror movie. Sorry.
Any movie
That's
in general.
not how you do an audience character. I was going to say a horror movie character,
Just
but
any character,
some
really.
of the characters in this are pretty good.
You know what also is great about the movie is the casting choice of Ben.
Oh, Ben was my favorite character.
Absolutely. He was the best character because it was definitely the kind of character you root for. Like, nobody really believes, everybody around him just hates him and wants him to go away, but we know he's right. We know he's always the smartest guy or the most sane guy in the room, and we kind of start to root with him. I think he probably is one of the earliest examples of that kind of character, at least in a horror movie.
The rational kind of character.
The rational hero in these horror movies, and they did that very well.
And I really didn't like it when they killed him. I thought, oh, Ben, no.
Spoiler alert, he dies at the end.
Oh, gee, the black guy dies in a horror movie. What a surprise!
Hey, at least he died at the
Kicking
end, and
ass.
he didn't die first.
Oh, no, that's true. He didn't die first. That's new. And it did feel kind of forced in there. Like, the directors were just going like, oh, if we have a black guy survive in a horror movie, it might not go too well for audience members.
Well,
kill him off!
Well, originally, for the character of Ben, when George Romero was writing, he didn't know what he wanted for Ben. It was originally just a colorless role. He just wanted an actor who could really sell the bit.
Yeah,
And when they were auditioning, the actor who came in for Ben, Dwayne Jones, was literally the best actor who auditioned. They said, you are our Ben.
And let's talk about some of the side characters, which are unfortunately not as well written.
Mr. Cooper.
What's with the freaking dirt spot on his head? Like, come on, man, wipe that off.
It feels like they put dirt makeup on him and they stopped halfway through because they had to shoot, and then they just didn't do anything to fix that throughout the whole movie.
The actor who plays Mr. Cooper is I think the assistant producer on the film.
Really?
Yeah, it's George Romero's assistant producer because of their low budget, they really couldn't afford to get actually a lot of actors. So some of the crew actually had to act in as that.
Wow.
Like even some of the zombies were actually just some crew members that they had to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. And let's talk about quite possibly your favorite character in the movie, a particular sheriff.
I like the sheriff element.
His beard is just legendary. You almost wonder if that's what inspired the era of beards and porn stashes in
that decade.
horror
We don't know
movies.
what it is. We don't know what to call it.
I love his line though. It's like, "Very nice shot there, son. Okay, boys, that's another one for the fire."
It's like they
And I want that hat of his, man. That's what I want.
It's like an actor starring for a western ended up in the wrong set, but before he could leave, the director's like, no, wait. We want you in this movie. Just read this script. All right, go. Let's see what you can do.
One thing I didn't expect going into this movie, I was just expecting like a trashy B-movie, zombie movie with a crap budget, hilariously bad zombies with obvious makeup. I expect that to be the whole movie, but a lot of the movie actually takes place just within the house, and the tension between everybody in the house, the owners of the house, mostly having tension with the main black character. I know, subtle, right?
Yeah,
but it almost feels like a political thriller, and my biggest issue with that is that for a lot of the film, it's almost like they forget there are zombies outside the door, and they're just worried about each other.
I think I heard some in original drafts. I think the thing was going to be set in New Orleans. Actually, they wanted to set it in New Orleans in sort of like a swamp kind of shack, but they thought let's keep it more sort of realistic in that
It
can
does
be
feel
anywhere.
realistic.
It does feel a little realistic
With
at
actors
parts.
with the actors you feel like
They're terrified of these.
you
things.
can they're not real actors, they're not
Well, not actual professional actors, but they're good enough.
yeah.
Well, then maybe I watched this at the wrong time, but unfortunately, this feels like one of those movies that feel like if I watched it as soon as it came out, when it was still revolutionary, it was like the first zombie movie of its kind, and I wasn't spoiled by amazing practical effects or visual effects by so many other movies, I would have loved this movie a lot more. But as it stands, I've seen so many zombie movies like it, so many zombie movies that make fun of other zombie movies, that it just feels like a tired, messy zombie movie. It just didn't feel like anything more than that.
I believe the zombies are supposed to be a metaphor for
Sort of like the whole idea about sort of Vietnam or something like that.
more like racism or whatnot.
Yeah,
I
Vietnam
could be wrong.
Vietnam didn't start till the 70s.
No, it was still raging by that point. In fact, because of Vietnam, they could get Tom Savini because Savini was originally going to be the makeup artist for Night. However, he was enlisted and he had to go over as a war photographer.
Hey, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have gotten the best special effects ever in modern horror movies.
Yeah, and it wasn't only until the 1990s version of Night that he finally got to work on it, and it was sort of like a welcome due for him.
And I just said the Vietnam War didn't start till the 70s. Now the internet's going to make fun of me for that. But that brings up my biggest problem with the movie, is that it doesn't really know what it wants to be. I feel like does it want to be this cheesy horror movie with focus around these, people getting eaten by zombies, or does it want to be a political thriller about political issues and how races deal with each other in a usually violent way? It jumbles around these themes a lot, and I especially feel like it does so towards the end. It's almost like near the end of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, there's zombies here. We gotta bring up the zombies somehow. Let's just have the survivors run out and try to leave the house, even though they're pretty much fine for most of the movie. It's like the writer remembered, oh yeah, there's zombies in my zombie movie. Let's just throw these in here.
I think what Romero was trying to do is that at the time, the only zombie films that came out were kind of formulaic.
Not even really zombie films, though, to be honest.
You're just people brainwashed.
They were people brainwashed. They were sort of like a metaphor for colonialism and slavery.
More like a metaphor for zombies than actual zombies.
Yeah, George Romero wanted to do something new. He wanted to not be the conflict zombie versus human. He wanted to have a sort of human versus human subplot as well.
That's also present in two of his other zombie films, like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead.
A lot of his things got the whole zombie versus zombie, but also the human versus human aspect.
I like that, but the film never really feels well written enough for that to work.
Well, I think they were kind of rushed because with the low budget and everything, it was that.
It's a low budget, I
But, hey,
guess, but
if it wasn't for Night of the Living Dead, we wouldn't have gotten some of the best zombie movies ever. Like, for example,
This film pretty much just started the genre.
that's
you could
why.
argue.
That's another reason why I don't like it. See, okay, I'm just gonna admit I am not a fan of zombie films. I think there's only a couple of zombie films I like. So everybody's like, "Oh, this is the film that started zombie films. Isn't it great?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the film that started zombie films. Screw that movie."
Yeah, the murder scene in the basement was really amazing, right, with the trowel.
yeah, like I had.
In fact, that's something you don't see in a lot of zombie films. I like the zombies because they kind of use tools, actually.
Yeah, no.
Like, they're not completely brain dead. They still know how to use tools, actually.
And that's more of what I wanted out of this movie. Just cheesy, low-budget zombie action that still manages to be creepy and all of that. But for the most part, the movie is just this almost kind of awkward political thriller in a house. But like I said, it doesn't feel well-written enough to be a good political thriller, but it doesn't feel creepy or tense enough to work as a zombie movie in my mind.
Well, did you guys know what actually also inspired the movie a little?
What?
Not entirely sure.
Okay, not a lot of people know this, but actually what inspired the movie the most was the novel I Am Legend, actually.
Really?
By
Yeah.
Ray Bradbury?
No way.
No, by, I forget the author's name, but Romero read the book and
Yeah.
he wanted...
Comment. Yeah, you can put down in the comments and just correct our stupid asses.
He wanted to make the zombie disease more grounded with the whole idea that a disease could wipe out the entire earth kind of thing, like in the book.
You know, there's one scene in Night of the Living Dead where the owner of the house is like, "All right, you stay out of this zone and you stay over there at all times. I'm gonna build a fence so you don't come in here."
Admittedly, the
And-
dialogue could have been a little
And I'm
updated
just
on that.
like,
Yeah, they could have used better.
you know,
dialogue.
everybody says the political films these days aren't subtle, but when I look at that and I'm like, that's they aren't even. I want to say they aren't even trying because they probably were trying.
Well, they
But it just came off as forced, and
Yeah.
especially in a zombie movie. And there's the end credit sequence which shows a bunch of black victims being shot down in the streets and dying and all that. And I just felt like, what's this? I almost felt like, what's this doing in a zombie movie? It just felt kind of out of place. If it was like all kinds of different victims to imply that it was zombies like eating all the different victims around the world, that would have been awesome. That would have been a perfect way to end it.
Well, the thing you gotta know with Romero, he loves the whole subtlety anger. He doesn't want it to say explicitly where this is happening. He wants to imply that this is happening all over, that kind of thing. Where was the film made again? New Jersey?
It was made in like a
New Jersey.
New Jersey, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. That makes sense.
Gee, that's way off. Yeah,
Yeah.
you feel free to correct us about that one as well.
What's your
that's
final
really
thoughts on the
sad.
movie?
Oh, final thoughts. What would you say?
The film has a little bit going for it, but in the end, it doesn't feel well written or well acted enough to be a convincing political thriller that it kind of wants to be. But it doesn't feel like intense or creepy enough to be a good zombie movie. So in the end, it just kind of feels like a bland mess of a movie to me, and that's a real shame because so many people were hyping this up as a classic. 5.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay, you do there. Well, I'm gonna say, at first, I wasn't really a big fan of the very low budget feeling of the film. Like, it feels like sort of like a student project film at first sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
it was filmed in just one area. The effects aren't the best because they couldn't afford to get Tom Savini, but besides that, the characters are iconic. They got some memorable scenes, and it's not too boring, for me at least. So I'm gonna give this film 7 out of 5. I mean 7 out of 10. Sorry,
7 out of 5.
I
A
haven't
new
got-
rating system where we rate
I haven't got a
movies
lot
over
of sleep.
5.
I'm sorry.
I think this movie, like, it meant well. Like, it was...
It actually
like,
tried, right?
Without Night of the Living Dead, we wouldn't get, like, great zombie movies like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Zombie, Shaun of the Dead. I could go on. But, like, it's the execution, like, it was just a bit off, you know. So, but while I did enjoyed it, I'm gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10.
If you enjoyed this video, if you did, hit the like button if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button
For more.
and the bell button for notifications.
Take care, guys.
I'll see you guys next time.
Peace out.